RBI Baseball 20. We are on the Nintendo Switch. We have exhibition matches. We have home run derby. We have new franchise. We have a 10-season franchise. And we've got the postseason. No multiplayer on the Switch version. Let's jump in. So like I mentioned, there is no online multiplayer function within the game on the Switch version of RBI. But it does have the option for 2 players locally multiplayer if that is something that you want to do. So this is an arcade version of baseball. It is not aiming to be a simulation like the show is. It's more of an old style arcade with a little bit of a modern flair and style to it. So there's a number of improvements, and like last year's version, this is actually a fairly solid release for the series. They've done a number of improvements and advancements over the core package to kind of, make it run a little bit better. So we're going to be making comparisons to the game running on Xbox One X. It's not enhanced there, it's just basically running the same version that the regular Xbox One version does. But that's our basis of comparison because I've played and reviewed the other version as well, so we can make those kind of comparisons. We're also talking about it being just on the Switch platform by itself. So in the game, the biggest change up, whoa, that was a nice double play there. The biggest change to the gameplay, which you didn't see yet because I play with the classic style, is there's a brand new control scheme in regards to batting and to pitching. So we're going to be showing that off as we play so you get an idea of what that looks like. So here we go on the pitching front. So we have all the different pitching options. So we could do, four-seam fastball. So we pick that. Now we've got our little circular item here. And you can notice the hitbox for the strike zone. So as I hold down the button, you can just tap it too if you want. You get a little bit more power into your throw, and that's how you kind of do it. So as you get tired, this circle will start kind of moving around back and forth across the screen, and it'll be a lot harder for you to successfully make a pitch. So that's an interesting mechanic that kind of changes up the experience a lot more and adds a different flair to it. I should mention that they have a soundtrack with over 20 different artists on it, and that is turned off due to copyright reasons. Okay, so now we can change it from modern pitching to classic pitching, and you can see what that looks like here too, where it's more of a traditional throw and then you kind of move the ball around. And that's kind of how you do it. I wanted to give off both options just so you could see in case you're somebody coming back from the previous version and you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? You can use that style of, pitching or batting if you'd like. Great. So from that point, we're going to switch back to the regular pitching options. And I want to mention for batting, when we do show it off, there's a couple different options. There's a few of them, modern plus aim, classic and stuff. So we are playing on easy because this game can be rather intense. Normal, it actually will give you quite a challenge, and I want to look really good when I'm doing this type of video so that, I don't get as many negative comments about that. So in the game, we've talked about the different kinds of modes that are available. So we've got Play Now, so that's just quick matches. You set up a match, pick some teams, you get in there, and you have a good time. Then there is the season, so you get 10 seasons you can play through. There's trades, free agents, and stuff like that. There's postseason to play through, just like the playoffs, baseball if you like. And of course, we've got Home Run Derby, which is a mode where you're just trying to continuously hit the ball and try to get the most home runs. They have different brackets and options for that one. Great, so here we go. We got the traditional bat going on. You see the swing there. We'll do one more time with the swing on the traditional, and then we'll switch it up to new one just so you get an idea of the difference between the two, just kind of the view style of it. So again, going to options and switching between the two. We'll do modern. I just want to give you an idea of what they look like. So here we get a power bar. We're kind of locked in. We got to hold it down, and then we can, do a hit off of that, or we could do like a bunt. They got different options for how you swing. But again, this is an arcade style of baseball, but these kind of mechanics kind of make it feel a little bit more like a simulation or more like realistic aiming version of the game. So that's kind of cool, and I think it's a nice integration, something new, something different that they added in. And I really like that they give you a lot of feedback in the game. So you saw that as we were swinging, it kind of told me, oh, you're a little bit late on this, and that's how you can kind of, improve how you are playing. I like the sense of there being like, a feedback system within the game. I think that's kind of important of an element. So other aspects of the game, there's over 165 MLB Legends and Legends teams that you can play, play as or use or play against. And other than that, improvements to the visuals. So the game on the Nintendo Switch, visually, still getting those upgrades, but at the same time, this is like a considerable tone down from the other platforms. I mean, that's to get it running. It doesn't really seem to look all that much different whether or not you are doing an undocked versus a docked version. So that meaning, if you're not familiar with those terms, undocked is when I take the Switch and I'm on the go, and docked is when I'm on the big screen. So I use a 4K screen. It's quite rough around the edges, and you actually notice that a lot on the smaller screen too, really jaggedy kind of edges. That being said, a number of the textures are actually kind of really good looking, very clean. The field looks good aside from the edges around the field. The player models also look really good if we take a second just to kind of appreciate that. There's actually a pretty good high quality to the players, just little jags around all the individual players, whereas the field's a lot rougher. Now, we did get 3D crowds. They're a newer thing. You can see that in the background. But for some reason, they changed them up again this year to try to make them look a little bit more realistic. But on the Switch version, they look really, really rough looking. I don't quite know why. It's a bit weird, to be honest. Like, if you're just like really looking at the edges there, they look really, really watery. They didn't look good on the other version. Like, I'm just happy they're 3D and they have animations to them, because they used to be like paper cutouts and stuff. So big improvement there, but long way to go, kind of making them look better. It's almost like you should be able to make the crowd look like they do now, but for the backdrops, like, when you get like the very long range kind of camera angles. And then these ones here, they should just have really high textures to them, in my opinion, just so that it looks better when you are doing that kind of fixed pitching angle, in my opinion. And yeah, it just kind of really sticks out to me. You can still do the thingy where you pass around to the ball, and you can throw that between rounds. I think that's kind of fun. There's also now like a sliding slash wall. Basically, you can jump after a ball in the outfield. You could do huge player control jumps, and I think that's a really nice touch. That did not go to the main one like I picked. Interesting. So you can actually kind of dive and jump for the ball in the field. I think that's a nice touch. Just some extra controls to make it feel a little bit more like you're in control of what's happening. Because for the most part, with this being like a simulation, we're going to try it right now. Simulation, doesn't matter if you lose, I don't care. Of the game, it's nice to have those little bits that don't necessarily make it a little bit too involved of a game to play, while still at the same time evolving the mechanics of the experience. Now, when it comes to performance, that's a big thing here on like the Switch, because it doesn't quite have the power of the other platforms, and we don't get a lot of polish from this series in regards to the various different versions that it's available on. So I don't know if you've been noticing, but it does kind of chug around a bit. It's definitely got some little performance issues in regards to the field of the game. When you're out in the outfield, I noticed that it seems to slow down quite a bit and fairly often. That being said, when you're doing the batting, you're doing the pitching, it seems to run perfectly fine. It just seems to be, feeling slower, more sluggish in the outside area, which I guess isn't the biggest deal, but I just thought that should be noted. It seems to be a little bit better on the when it's undocked for some reason. I don't know if I'm just not seeing it as well on that version when you take it out and stuff, but it might just be more visible on the TV too, because of the refresh rate and everything. But Yeah, just slight performance issues, and that seemed to be something that was present in last year's version as well on the Switch. That's why I want to cover both versions, because they are very much different sort of experiences. It's the same game, but they do tone or tweak things, and I think it's important for this platform to get a full grasp and a full look at what the game is like on that platform, because otherwise you look at another one, you'd be like, oh, this is it's great and everything like that, whereas there are some slight hiccups. Still, this is a really great baseball experience. They've really cleaned it up. They've done some great things with it. Authentic arenas that all look good. The players are looking better than ever. New mechanics for batting. The new hair, as you can see on some of the players, a lot more realistic. They used to be kind of like clay people, kind of like Slenderman and stuff, and it's a lot better. Oh, and also they got fancier, kind of like cinematic moments. You see that, it's chugging a bit though, right? Oh, that looked really bad, but you get the sense of what I'm going towards, just in regards to the presentation's a lot cleaner, the UI and everything like that looks a lot better. We're seeing player pictures again. So generally, just they're actually making a lot of improvements with the game, and I think this one is a generally very solid version of RBI. I do find, again, didn't that hit the ground first? I don't know, maybe whatever. I do find that it runs a little bit better on the other platforms, but if you are on the Switch, this is the baseball experience you have, and this is the best option currently available on the Switch in that regard. So, I mean, yeah, it's got some new touches, some new changes. I think that they're kind of cool. They mix it up a bit and do something unique with the game. And you do get a couple game modes. I was mentioning the other review too that I would like to maybe see them be a little bit more adventurous, do a fun mode or something different. I'd also like to see that, I guess you could say the campaign the franchise mode where you got a team going. It would be nice to see some more innovation in that area. Just in regards to, new elements that you can adjust, more depth there. It would be really cool to see some character customization or something like that, just to kind of some additional levels of personalization. I mean, this is created by the MLB. It's in-house, so they should have more freedom. I know they have certain standards for rules and everything like that, but they shouldn't have to do a whole lot of checking, because they are, handling their own game in this situation. So that is something to keep in mind. I guess other details, they have refinements for just how you play. The base running controls have been streamlined a bit, so that's something to kind of mention. Just refinements on the overall experience in regards to the content. It is very much a shame that we don't get the online multiplayer on the Switch version, because I know that a lot of people want to play against others online, but you do get the local option, everything like that. So I guess it's not necessarily the biggest disappointment in that regard, but at the same time, it's it would be cool to have that coming here. So what do we get here? It's largely the version we played last year, but they have spent time upgrading things, tweaking the gameplay, the mechanics, making the players look a lot better, fixing that presentation, giving you more feedback when you are playing. Just again on the Switch, a little bit held back, but we obviously know why that is. I still think it's generally fine. It's nothing that's going to really wreck the experience as much. The outfield, obviously is not nearly as important as when you playing in the batting or the pitching aspect of the game, in my opinion, because that is where the core of the experience is when you're doing this, because this is where the most contact happens. Everything else is just basically button clicks. You're not necessarily even really interacting that much with what's going on in the outfield, aside from being a player running out there and doing stuff. So yeah, pretty good amount of content. It does actually look fine on the handheld, and on the big screen it's not the worst either. I mean, some stuff obviously sticks out quite a bit, and that includes basically the fans and the crowd that needs some work, but I do like that they are making them a little bit more dynamic. The 3D aspect of that feels a little bit more lively, so that they can capture the atmosphere. I really do think they actually get the atmosphere of RBI quite well, or RBI of the MLB quite well. You know, just in terms of the presentation and the style. Yeah, I think they kind of captured that. The different fields, the different places you can go, they feel, you know, kind of alive. You get the big backdrop there. I would like, maybe if they could clean up the jagged edges along the field in the future, would be a little bit nicer, just presentation-wise. But it does have like a warm, nice feeling to it. You get a little bit more of a feedback of your characters kind of interacting with things. You know, just how they like kind of break stuff or hit things and slide stuff and get dirt on them. So that's kind of nice. We're going to show off just a little bit more gameplay, but I've really covered all I need to in regards to kind of going over this game and talking about it. And I hope this was a good presentation of what RBI is looking like this year on the Nintendo Switch platform.
There's a foul. You're out. Steer, right? Foul. You're out. Home run. Out. Strike. Out. Safe. Steer rag. Out. Strike. Strike. Strike out. That's a strike.